What it do, good people? It's been a long time for this episode, and we want to thank everybody. Again, we want to thank you for your likes and your comments. Keep subscribing to the page. And as always, we want to give out this disclaimer. These views that are expressed on this podcast is our opinion. It is not meant to diagnose anything, talk about anybody. It's just our opinion on the different topics that we talk about. So we're going to jump right into it. Today's topic is we're going to talk about the de-emasculation of men. And where it came from is when I'm watching TV, I see a lot of your big-time sports celebrities, basketball players, people that we look up to, or some of us look up to as far as men. They're becoming more feminine. They're wearing more women attire. I know I seen an interview with LeBron. He had some knickerbockers on and a big brown purse. I think that, what's the quarterback name for the Seahawks? Cam Newton? Is it Cam Newton? What's his name?
Oh, shoot.
Is Cam Newton a quarterback?
He is, but it's
I can't think of his name. But he used to wear like feminine looking clothes. I think I seen Westbrook in some feminine looking clothes. But like I said,
Westbrook, that's his own brand.
That's his own. All right, we're gonna take Westbrook off the table because that's his own brand.
That's his own brand. But as far as the European look that most of us men of color are starting to adapt to, for some odd reason they think that that's the style, it's the end thing to do, the tight pants and I mean, if your body makeup fits that style, then to me it's fine. It's mm-hmm. when I see a man my size in those type of clothes and it doesn't fit. Mm-hmm. But the emasculation of men, masculinity is needed in mm-hmm. society.
Mm-hmm. More than ever now.
The thing with masculinity is it should have different levels, and each level should produce something that benefits the man. Mm-hmm. Meaning, when you're out in the world, you have that masculine shell on, but when you come home, you have to still be masculine, but at the same time show empathy and love and nurturing, because men are all those things in one. So, but being too left or too right, it tends to throw mixed signals to people, your children, your wife, your girlfriend, your mom, your daughter, whatever. So when we talk about masculinity and those who grew up in the 70s, that's what we grew up with. We grew up with masculine men. And we knew that it was a line in the sand, an invisible line in the sand. When you were dealing with those men, you knew that line that you could not cross. Mm-hmm. And as time went on, and people started to complain, oh, men are too hard, they don't show their feelings. Men love just as much as women do, mm-hmm. sometimes more. That's why me and him have a job. But men do love, and the thing what it is, like Dave Chappelle said, I was funny before I had a dress on. I'm gonna be funny if I don't put a dress on. Mm-hmm. That's why he walked away from a lot of money.
Yeah, a lot of money.
A lot of artists think they have to succumb to putting on a dress and makeup mm-hmm. to be funny. But before you were so-called Hollywood, mm-hmm. you were funny.
Cause like I said, you got Martin, who was funny as Shanae. You got Jamie Foxx.
Come to find out, Shanae was the representation of his sister.
Well, why not just have his sister?
My point exactly. When I found that out, I was like, well, your sister was alive. You could have had her play the part.
Mm-hmm. It probably would have played it better.
Because it would have been natural. Mm-hmm. Natural things always tend to be better for you. But when little kids have these make signals. Oh, I see such and such in a dress, or I see this dress, and they think it's okay. It's okay to be true to yourself. I'm not saying that at all. If you feel as though that's where your life is headed, and you feel as though you like one better than the other, or you like both, that's your decision. But for men to have to succumb to not being men to please other people, you'll get a variation of a man that you won't like.
And I'm gonna throw this out there because I'm glad you brought that up. When you look at today's society, in some aspects, women can make way more money than men
now,
and it seems like women have become the breadwinners and stepped into a role where the man's supposed to fall, and the man falls back and plays a role. Not saying the woman is subservient, but he plays the more feminine side of the role, and he's not stepping up to doing his plate. So it's like this is coming from somewhere.
So what I found out what society has done was they wanted to tax both parties, the man and woman. So of course they helped start the women's movement, the women's rights movement. They funded it because think about it. If they were housewives and the men made all the money, where did they get the money to fund their movement? It had to been somebody with money and power to allow to fund their movement. So when they decided, okay, we don't want the adults anymore. They have their own mindset, their own way of thinking. We want their children and their children's children. So we train their children.
The system.
Right. So we systematically teach them our ideologies for generations and generations and generations to get away from the things that we used to do. Like we talk about it all the time, how black folks, like this was a black neighborhood where I could knock on your door and say, Miss Bodie, I'm hungry. She would open her door and let you in and feed you. Now it's to the point where you knock on the door, you looking out the window like, who, what?
Yeah, exactly.
What?
Exactly.
So first, black folks stopped taking care of each other. Like they said with Black Wall Street, it all came to a head when they wanted to integrate. When we was thriving in our schools, owning our own businesses and everything, when we started to integrate, we thought it was best for us to integrate than to stay separate. When the same people integrated but kept us separate. So in a sense, their plan worked to systematically train our children to think like them. If I go to college, be in debt, get a good job, work for 60 years,
I'm gonna be something.
I can get a retirement, but I can't get the retirement until I'm 65.
And then I'm gonna drop dead.
But by the time I get it, I'm gonna be in debt. Or I done work so much that I'm not even gonna be able to enjoy my retirement. So they broke us down. They separated out our mothers and fathers socially and economically. Because the minute the woman was able to step out and work and be taxed, our children suffered because there was nobody in the home to train them up. Now, how many people know that I can cook, you can cook. We can clean our own homes.
Facts.
We can wash our own clothes, we can own our own clothes. Not saying that that's what a woman should do for us, but you should. A woman, I shouldn't go into a relationship and have to do all that if I got a partner.
Facts.
So just like they'll say, well, why you don't cook? Well, if you work from home, why should I have to come in the house and cook when you're already there? And I look at it like on my days off, like I was already thinking about what I'm gonna cook this weekend because I'm off. So, but we have a tendency to look at society as men are the problems in the world. But if you look back in time, what drove men to do some of the acts? They're women.
So let me ask you this
Helena
question.
Troy, perfect example.
Yeah, I heard
She
that.
started a whole nation war because she left her husband for the man she really loved, which is nothing wrong with that, but it's a way about doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And you know the man you was married to, he was prideful. And she started a whole war for that.
So let me throw this out there. So with this seems like that they, in my opinion, the system is pushing a more feminine type of man. Like even when you watch movies, sometimes the men is always a lot more displaying a lot more feminine qualities. But then when you look at the women, on the other hand, like I said, they're becoming bosses, which is nothing wrong with that, but they're be putting, it's almost like I say, they're trying to switch the narrative to flip the roles of where a man's supposed to be. Like I said, to continue or confusing our children. So at the end of the day, like I said, you got these movies that are portraying men, which is good. Like you said, it's good for men to have emotions because we need to be able to express when we're angry before we turn into serial killers. But they're showing men not just feminine wise, subservient and not even understanding how to be men. What do you think is pushing that?
Well, in relationships, we both supposed to be subservient to each other.
To each other, yes.
So that's fine because a lot of times you will see men not.
Matter of fact, hold on, let me throw in a caveat. When a woman makes $150,000, her man makes $60,000, and the woman is telling the man what to do, and he's doing it. No, she's dictating to him. How do we get to this when I'm sure our parents and grandparents, it was a 50-50 relationship? Dad might have grinded and everything, but mom cooked the bacon and made sure. So how do we get to
and work?
You know, exactly. So how do we get from that to now the woman is dictating and the man don't even have a clue that he screwed up?
Well, first, us as men need to understand our childhood traumas.
Mm-hmm.
And that could be, that particular man could be the fact that he's been controlled by women all his life.
Mm-hmm.
So that's all he knows. Then, on top of that, that man also might be making up for indiscretions that he didn't make for her to be like that. Because she could have been that woman that was, okay, I make $150,000, but my man makes $60,000, and he taking care, he's still paying all the bills. Because at $60,000, you still can pay all the bills.
Still, yeah, depending on how you live.
Yeah. So those are some examples that's why a man might fall back and let her go ahead and take the lead. Or he could have been that man who always screwed up shit, and she don't have no choice but to take the lead. So a lot of us men have a tendency to want to say, I'm a grown ass man, but don't move like me. You know what I'm saying?
I agree.
So, but then you run into that woman who always had to drive her own car. What is she gonna do when she meet a man and then
he don't have no license?
He don't have no license, or he got a license, he don't have no car. She gotta pick him up, drop him off, or he gotta borrow her car, which is nothing wrong with that because it might be a reason why he don't have a car. Some people don't want cars because they don't want the headache.
Yeah, there's a lot of maintenance.
It's like having another child, but he take care of everything else. He got his credit decent. He don't owe nobody no money. But it's just the simple fact he don't know how to be in a relationship. Some men don't know how to be in a relationship. So if she already jump out there and take the lead, he like, okay, I ain't gotta do nothing.
So how, and I agree. So how do we get to the point where men are, like I said, it's just my opinion that I think, like I said, there is a system in place to derail, I'm gonna say derail families.
It is.
By derailing the men. So how do we get men to step up and say, you know what? My wife make $150, I make $60, but as the man in this relationship, I need to come up with a plan because it's looking like each generation, the men are falling short and becoming more and more feminine. Movies are portraying it, lifestyles are fan. And again, like you said when we first started, if you choose to go a certain lifestyle, I'm good with that. If I ain't paying no bills in your house, I don't care what you do. But it's almost like some of these dudes are crossing over because it's trendy, which is a problem sometimes.
It's not that it's trendy. It's just like that's who they are.
But I mean, true. But I've seen some dudes like they say in jail, you gay for the stay.
That's so. In that instance, it's go along to get along.
Yeah, I didn't get out of that.
Right. You just have to fight everything. But when you're not taught to stand your ground, like we grew up in Baltimore. I grew up in Baltimore City.
Oh, I was in Baltimore City for a while.
Right. So you knew if you ain't stand your ground,
you beat up and take advantage.
You better have some Usain Bolt shoes on.
Yeah,
because you
unfortunately
I
didn't. So I ran and learned how to fight.
Exactly. And luckily for me, I had a whole shitstorm full of cousins.
Yeah, so we fighting.
Right, we fighting. So once I hit that corner, and they what's the problem?
You running? Wait, whoa.
First, you're right. I gotta hear that. Why is you running? Secondly, oh no. Y'all ain't gonna bang them. Whoever got a problem with them,
you gonna step up.
You gonna step up. You gonna fight them. They gonna fight head up. And once y'all fight, it's over.
Yeah.
That's how we grew up.
Exactly.
These young men,
what they call a fair fight.
These young men don't know that. They don't have uncles.
No, they don't.
We had uncles.
Yeah.
Every once in a while in the backyard, what he say?
Square up.
There it is. Or what we do for recreation?
Square.
We out there wrestling, put the boxing gloves on.
We go at it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the rules was no headshots.
Yep. Or don't. My grandma said, "Don't hit a man when he's down."
That's it. So these young men don't do that. They so closed off. Everything is so convenient. Outkast had a song called "Synthesizer Man." Everything quick. These kids grew up with everything quick, from quick grits to microwavable foods.
Yeah. All
the foods that we got cooked for meals, they get them instant.
5 minutes. Yeah.
Now they got Instacart. They ain't gotta do nothing. So these young men, basically, I could sit back and watch them walk into stores like the corner stores, and a young lady standing there buying her stuff. And they walk up to her and go, "Oh, you ain't gonna buy me nothing?"
She barely got enough money to buy what she got.
But that's the mentality they have. That's why some of these young men, when they can't get their way, they throw tantrums.
Yeah.
They spaz out. Like you, 18 years old, spazzing out because your girl gonna buy you a pair of sneakers after she bought her kids sneakers.
Yeah.
You supposed to be buying the sneakers in the first place.
True.
If you in position to buy.
If you're in position.
But you don't chastise her because she didn't buy your grown ass a pair of sneakers.
Yeah.
Right. She bought her children the pair of sneakers, the 3 pair of sneakers she bought her children cost her your sneakers.
Just one pair of sneakers.
And she had to buy herself something.
Exactly.
Right. And so that's why the roles have flipped in society, especially with this generation, is because these young women first, some of them don't know how to be women. Secondly, they haven't since they haven't been taught how to move like a woman. And moving like a woman ain't shaking your ass.
Nah.
And fucking. It's about building your brand and getting your bag.
Facts.
And at the same time being a lady about it.
Exactly.
So that's why these young men don't understand that, okay, some of them.
Yeah, some of them.
Because there's some young guys out there getting it.
Yeah.
But they still don't know how to be in a relationship.
Exactly. So
you
got one aspect of it, but you fall short of the other.
That's what we taught.
True.
So, but a lot of them still have a tendency not to know how to be a man. And that's why I respect our coworker, our 2 East coworker, because when you look at him, he all that and then some.
Facts.
But at the end of the day, he a man. He handles his business. But then you'll look and you'll have somebody got a coworker, whatever. sleep in the computer lab this morning.
God dang.
Smelling.
What?
Got a
Again?
whole situation at home. But yeah, you ain't gonna come on, man.
Wow.
But we are getting demasculated because we are allowing it.
Okay.
We are allowing our young men to question our authority.
Wow. Okay.
Because think about this.
We questioning the OG status.
Exactly. Think about this. If your uncle, older cousin, whatever, came to you and said, your mother said, and I specifically heard her say, take the trash out, sweep and mop the kitchen floor by 10 o'clock this morning.
It'll be done by 8:30.
Exactly. Why? Because you know he had all permission
to
put hands on.
And not just that, like you said before, I respected his position in the family.
Because who gave it to him?
Yeah, my mother.
That is. So he's not really speaking for himself. He's speaking for your mother.
Yeah.
He's her rep.
Yeah.
So she sent him to the house because she already knew your ass. So we had people in place to keep us in line, but the only difference was between them was they didn't show us the empathy, the compassion,
the sensitive side of it.
right?
I agree.
All the time.
Yes.
So a lot of us young men are missing that affirmation.
Yeah.
Like we missing that father figure who says, "Oh, okay, you messed up this time, but that's okay, son. You'll get it next time. You're good. I love you. I love you, and I'm proud of you anyway."
Exactly.
Regardless, we don't get that. We might get it from our mothers.
We definitely get it from moms.
But it's not the same.
Yeah, that man, that father's
like the old saying,
validation.
That old saying goes, iron sharpens iron.
Yeah.
All day, every day.
Yes.
That's why when we have these conversations, we just sharpen each other.
I agree.
The more we conversate and the more we give each other feedback on our thoughts, our feelings, or whatever, we sharpen each other. Because if I tell you a story about I did this, and that, and it's like that, I almost did that, and but I caught myself and I backtracked and I didn't do it that way, and I did it this way, and the outcome was better. Then you give me your feedback.
You have another
understanding.
Yeah.
So we get demasculated because we allow it. We like Dwayne Wade's son. At 13, 14 years old, he doesn't even know what sex is.
Yeah, I don't mean to hunt. It ain't nowhere in the world I'd approve that message.
I can't.
Because if you was 19, 20.
Unlike Magic Johnson's son, who came out when he was older. That's a difference.
It's a difference because you're a grown man.
Now you somewhat understand what it is sexually that you want. But at 13, 14, you can't explain what you wanted.
Yeah.
Your body's still developing.
Exactly.
Your mind is still developing. Because if he can make that decision, that's almost like saying a young woman at 15 can make the decision, a clear and concise decision to sleep with a 30-year-old man.
And mother a child and take care of that baby.
Right. But she can't.
She can't.
And according to law, you go to jail for messing with her.
Yes.
Because they say it's rape, statutory rape.
Yeah.
So let's get back to demasculation.
But no, it all plays a part. Everything we're saying is that even like you brought up Dwayne Wade's son, he's allowed to go that way, and nobody's trying to derail your way of life. But what you're saying is that some age until you are quote unquote on your own, you're gonna do as I say because you're a kid. You might can articulate, but you don't understand the ramifications. Now, once you get 19, 20, and you want to still go to it, you got my full blessing. I may not agree with it, but you got my blessing.
Right. I'm going to still, you my son. I'm not going to, your acronyms and your them thing.
It's irrelevant. You still my child.
Outside my door, you whatever you is.
Yes.
In here, when you was born, what I signed your birth certificate as, that's what I'm going to address you as.
Yeah.
Now, if you don't want me to address you in that manner, that means you can't be in my presence. That's your decision.
You know, and it's weird. I was listening to, I want to say 95.9 9 or 5, one of them radio stations by Radio 1. Harvard University is now offering a OBGYN course to label babies LGBTQ LMNOP from birth.
Can't do that.
Now, how is that? Exactly. So, but like you said, things are being allowed to take place, which is the trickle down effect is you have unstable homes because men aren't being taught what they supposed to be taught. You know, and not just men and women, but since we're talking about men, so here's another question. We both got daughters. How do we teach women how to bring home the bag and still be women at home? Because there's a difference. You can be you can be the CEO of a top 10 company or a Fortune 500 company and come home and then still cook a meal. How do we get there?
Unfortunately, we can't.
I knew you was gonna say that.
Because first of all, we don't think like women. So that would be on the mother. Almost like when the Boys in the Hood, when Angela Bassett finally dropped her son off to learn Fishburne because at 13,
he was wild.
What's she gonna do with him?
Nothing.
She couldn't do nothing with him. He getting taller, he getting bigger. He gonna start asking questions she can't answer. On a male perspective. So he would have to call his father anyway. So therefore she was like, you know what? If it would be in your best interest, from this point on, to send you to your daddy's. Even though he lived in South Central.
Yeah, that's hard to say.
They was in Compton.
It was good. I knew it was one of the two.
It's one of them. But even though he lives there, but he lives a certain way. And I always said, just because you live in the hood, that mean you have to be a part of it.
Because his father, straight tie, shirt, hard
owned
worker.
his own business.
Yep.
Owned his own business, lived in the hood. Why? Because he wanted to uplift his people out of the hood, give his males a better, someone to look at other than the street thug.
And his father was educated too.
Exactly. We also allow gentrification in our own neighborhoods because we don't buy property. So that's another story. But
you're right.
Emasculation have been the driving force to break down the black family and the brown families, because the strongest point in each of those cultures is the men. The men,
yes, it is.
So if you break down the
biblically,
men,
you get the men. Yeah.
Right. If perfect example, movie Poltergeist. The Poltergeist came after who first?
The little girl, I think.
No.
Poltergeist.
The husband.
Oh no, it was something in the mirror.
The husband.
Yeah, it was something in the mirror that he looked at.
He is the strength.
Mm-hmm.
The wife was the heart and the emotion.
Yeah.
The emotion drove her to go through that TV to get her daughter. Yeah. By this time, the father was out of the picture.
Out of the picture, yeah.
So, but her strength and the love for her child is what drove her
to do what she did.
But the Poltergeist knew if you don't get the husband out the way, the family was too strong for me to handle. So, in society, it's the same way. If I don't get the black men and the brown men out the way, I can't attack the family. So what they did socially, economically was for us, because they got us out the house.
Yeah. Whether it's through jail or whatever.
Through jail, war, and economics. So when you look at it, back in those days, if you didn't have a good job, you had to go to social service. So service didn't have restrictions.
Can't have a man in the house.
Couldn't have a man in the house. And he can't buy you new stuff. Yeah. So he moved out, became a weekend dad, then became every other weekend dad.
Once a month dad.
Next thing you know,
see you on Christmas.
Right. Next thing you know, because he still had to pay child support.
Yeah.
So that means
crime more.
Exactly. So us as men, that's why they started telling us, don't have no children if you ain't married to this woman.
What is out of wedlock?
Out of wedlock. Don't have no children out of wedlock. That's what they kept telling us.
Yeah, they did.
They kept telling us that. And girls don't have no babies out of wedlock.
Yeah.
That's why they started telling us to abstain from sex until you get married. It wasn't to punish us.
It was they understood the ramifications.
Exactly. So, the minute that happened, young men started to run astray. That's when you started having all these gangs and all that stuff. Don't know how to really be sociable and relate to people because emotionally you were cut off. You had to cut off to survive.
Yeah.
It was a survival tactic. So most of us go back to that every time we get into them hard conversations. We shut down. We become defensive.
Yeah, yeah.
So
which is something I'm definitely working on.
Right, me too. Me too. I go to therapy every Wednesday and every Saturday.
That's what's up.
I go for myself on Wednesdays and for me and my fiance on Saturdays. So we have to understand that I'll never be feminine. It's just not even.
True.
It's not even.
It's not even. You didn't see that coming up, so it's not even in your DNA.
I seen it, but it wasn't as prevalent. As
it wasn't. Yeah. Well, because I can say it, but like I say, but what
we were 70s kids. It wasn't prevalent.
Yeah.
And if it was, you already know who it was, and they kept their business.
They kept their business. You know, and that's a part of today's society too. Social media. And the urge to put your dirty laundry out there, whatever it looks like.
Right.
Like you said, back then, the men, whoever that lived their alternative life, they mind their business. No, everybody knew who they was and didn't care. But you didn't try to influence everybody else because that's what you wanted. You know.
So the thing they said with TikTok is, was it Japanese that brought that or Chinese?
They was just talking about this day where I want to say the Japanese, I think.
They're not showing their children.
I didn't know that until this started coming out.
Exactly. They're not showing their children all the fights and the stupid shit that TikTok is showing in America.
Yeah, he's showing buildings being made, businesses started,
economics. They showing them mathematics, science projects. They're showing them all the stuff that developed their mind.
Yes, sir.
But our kids is on TikTok cussing their mamas out,
doing twerking and all that. Yes,
and all that stupid stuff. And then they wonder why when they go to school they don't know nothing. But they're not getting the grades they should be getting because they're allowing their kids to be adults at
way too early.
Way too early.
Yeah.
Then when they child jump off the porch at 15 and go out there in the streets and really mess up, they want to go on TV and say, "Oh, my child was a good kid," and
you don't know your child.
And even we have restrictions. Our parents still don't know half the shit we done did.
No, not at all.
Not at all.
Mine have an idea, but no, she don't.
You can't prove it.
Nope, exactly.
If you can prove it.
If you wasn't there, it wasn't me.
Right, no. So, but as time went on and the fathers became more absent from these young men's lives, the more and more they became more like their mothers.
Yes.
And people don't understand people adapt to their environment that they're constantly around. So if a young man is constantly up under his mother and her girlfriends, he's going to have some feminine ways regardless.
Yeah.
So it's no different than a young woman who's raised by her father.
She's going to be a dude all her life.
She's going to have masculine ways. The only way she or he comes up out of it if they have the balance. And everybody, unfortunately, doesn't have great aunts, great uncles that they can go around and learn these things from, how to cook and clean and how to take care of a spouse, whether male or female. So a lot of us learn on the job,
on the fly.
OJT,
OJT. Yeah.
When it comes to relationships, because like I said, I'm 49, and I'm really just learning how to be more subservient, other than financial. Because with me, I was easy. I go get me 2 jobs.
Pretty much.
And we straight.
We good.
But now that I'm with somebody that I don't need to work that much, and then I don't pay child support no more. It's becoming now. It's like, okay, now I gotta focus more on relationships.
Yeah.
And I had to get that ideology out of my mind that being vulnerable with her is not being feminine.
Yeah.
It's allowing her to see my soft, gentle side,
Mm-hmm.
and that I am about her.
Mm-hmm.
So we have on one extreme that you have a DMX, and on the other extreme you have Babyface.
Babyface, yeah.
We have to be in the middle.
In the middle, yes.
Where we can go outside, be DMX, but come in the middle, come in the house and be Babyface.
Yeah.
You know the song.
I'll buy your clothes.
Yeah, I wash it.
I'm thinking,
yeah.
The concept sounds good, but
come on, man, give us a break. And that's our mindset. But we should be like that towards our women, especially
it should come easy, really.
Right, especially if they're doing it for us.
Yeah, yeah.
It shouldn't be like, oh, you supposed to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Nah, she doing that because she's into you.
Yeah,
and
she's making your life a little easier because maybe you don't gotta wash your clothes.
Right,
Mm-hmm.
but it's funny because I still wash my clothes.
Mm-hmm.
And she gets mad because she don't wash my clothes, but I just don't like when she washes my clothes. It has nothing to do with it's especially this uniform shit. I don't want her to touch it.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't want to touch none of my clothes.
But even still, it's bad because you understand, like, hey, I can do it. I got it.
I don't really need you washing my clothes. Just don't. But I thank my mom for that because as a child, it was just me, my mom, and my sister. And we lived in an apartment. We lived on the third floor. My mom said she would never live under anybody. Mm-hmm. So I always had to take the laundry all the way in the basement, the apartment, put all the stuff in there because my sister was a baby. So
it fell on you to be the man in the house this week.
Right. So I was going to the market. I was buying my mother personals, my sister's Pampers, milk. I was doing market. I didn't drive.
Oh, God damn. Okay.
So imagine.
You lugging it.
Yes. So, in a sense, she not only made me a responsible man, she made me a man that understands that you have to take care of your family, regardless of what's going on. But since I didn't have the sight of a man being there with my mom, loving her, caressing her, taking care of her, serving her,
making her her load a little lighter.
I had the versions of men that when they seen my mom, they was like, "Oh, this is my come up." These motherfuckers ain't. I'm like, really? you come because my mom worked at the post office. She been there forever since 79.
Ooh, Lord.
So she stayed. They didn't. So I didn't have that version of a man that looked out for my mother, put my mother first, showed me that this is how you supposed to treat a woman. So me, I'm like, well, damn, I don't want to be like that, and I wasn't. So I became more financially focused, and I didn't have all that other empathy stuff. But for as far as this generation of young men who either are overly emotional or becoming reclusive, and they're becoming introverts.
Yeah, which is
scary because some of them introverts become serial killers, rapists.
Yeah,
they become peeping toms first, and then it gradually grows into more
aggressive stuff.
So, like I tell my son that, hey, if you got anything on your chest, get it off. Because you don't want to walk around with that burden and wearing you out, and stress will kill you faster than anything in the world.
What Cat Williams say it with your chest out, bleed.
Yeah, that's it.
So let me ask you, so I'm going to throw this out there. I'm going to ask you the same question. So I ask, how do we take the boss woman and get her to be come home and cook a meal? You say you don't think it's possible. So let me throw this spin out there.
We can't teach.
Well, that's not true. But let me throw this out there to you. If men would do a better job in stepping up, getting better, would that make it easier for that boss woman to come home and cook them bacon and eggs in the morning?
Yes. Okay. If she understands that he gonna take care of his business, regardless of what I do. Like me, I don't worry about how much my woman makes, because at the end of the day, it's still gonna fall on me. Mm-hmm. So her money doesn't concern me, unless I want her to do something. But other than that, her money don't concern me, because at the end of the day, I still have to take care of everything. But I know if I sit back, she got me.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but when a woman can move like that, oh, like if I go on right now and say I'm hungry, but she at work right now, she don't get off till 8 o'clock. But if she got off at 5, or she might text me and say, "What you want for dinner?" I'm like, I don't know, whatever you fix. But today Friday, I tell her, no, don't worry about it. I'll bring something home. Because I give her she need her time to chill too.
Yeah.
I'm like, do you want me to bring anything home? Sometimes she's like, can you just cook?
That's it?
Sometimes I'll be like, I know when certain stuff is taken out that she want me to cook it. Like if it's fish, it's greens, anything like that.
No matter how the day went, it's on you.
Yeah. Those type of things that she struggled cooking, and she has it out. I'm like, damn, I gotta cook. But I go in and do it, and I do it the same way she would do it for me.
Yeah.
With no discrepancies, no. I don't feel like doing that. I just got off work dealing with them.
And I had to restrain 4 or 5 people.
Yeah, but even in those days when I do that, and she be like, "Well, can you cook the fish?" I'm like, "Yeah, I got you." Go in and clean myself up. Then go smell like fish. But it's for her. So I don't mind. But we as men need to stop taking the back seat because it's easy.
You yes, sir.
It's easy to go if you still live at your mother's house, but you're not even supposed to do that with moms, because moms didn't raise you till you was 18. Yes. So right now, if she shouldn't even have to ask you to come to the house and cut the grass. Nope. Now my mother called me and said, "I need you to come get grass." I ain't cutting your grass. So I call somebody. I pay somebody.
I give a couple dollars to drop the gift them.
Yeah, I'm not cutting no grass. But I used to go over there and cut my mother's grass. But then I was like,
I did too.
I'm tired of cutting this grass. So I'll find somebody to cut your grass, and I'll leave the money at the house.
Yeah.
I'll just put it on top of the refrigerator. Let me know when you're going to come cut it, and I drop the money out. Now, because I was already working 2 jobs. I'm like, now I got to make time to cut her grass. Oh, then she complained if I didn't put the damn lawnmower back right. And
get the edges right.
I'm like, you know what? So, but before I started paying for it, my godfather said, I'll come up and do it. And he was doing it.
Okay.
But then he got tired.
Yeah.
So it's like, my mother don't have it. It's not a big yard, but it's big enough.
He's going to take you by that more now.
Right. So, and then she had a dog at the time, and then you got to worry about the dog pooping in the yard. I'm like, nah, I'm not cutting your grass. So that's the thing with young men today. They don't understand that we have to take care of our women. Because if we don't take care of our women, nobody else will. And that's not, I'm not talking about financial. Because a lot of them can get out there and ball hard all day, every day.
Physical, financial, emotional, spiritual.
We're not talking about financial. We're just talking about emotional and physical. A lot of women are touchy-feely. They love to touch on the man that they love and they love with. And we have to learn how to receive that from them. So
that's a struggle for some.
It is. It's a struggle for me sometimes. I've been with her for 8 years, and it's still a struggle for me. and I'm not afraid to admit that. But a couple of years ago, I'd be like, "No, I'm good. I can accept all that shit." But it's a struggle for me sometimes, and I don't know why. And I believe because after a while, I had to. Dealing with some of the traumas that I was dealing with my dad, the relationship I don't have with my dad, and dealing with the relationship I had with my mother, my emotions were pretty much cut off. Okay. I just was like, "Hey, Mom, you know, it wasn't no hug. Okay. It wasn't. She would hug me, but it was like, it was one of church hugs. Like me and my sister, we don't hug. We like, "Hey, what's up?" So I understand that me and my sister both dealing with certain traumas. Especially emotional traumas, but for me, the masculinity side, which comes with an ego,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have
The unrealistic ego.
right, and then you have the demasculation side that comes with the ego as well,
Mm-hmm.
because they feel as though this is the way they should be. But you can be vulnerable and transparent
Mm-hmm.
and still be a man. Whereas though if you don't get your way, you just find another way.
Mm-hmm. Another proof. But you say is more than one way to skin a cat.
That's it. And a lot of men tend to think people owe them something. In a sense, the United States do owe Black America a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Free labor for 400 years is in the trillions. That's where the money sits at. If you think about all the corporations that's making billions off the free labor that we all, our ancestors provided for those businesses to grow into other businesses and corporations, now Fortune 500 companies that's been sitting on, that started on the backs of slavery, we're still dealing with that trauma.
Yeah, that's a whole lot of stuff.
And
That's
then-
years of trauma.
And then we're dealing with the current traumas where we see young Black men, such as the school teacher who just was tased to death. I forget where it was.
Somebody was telling me about that.
Yeah, he got into a car accident. Obviously, he must have had a panic attack.
Mm-hmm.
So he wasn't himself. So instead of the police calling the ambulance, they decided they wanted to arrest him. But then you tase him. He can't breathe. He just was in a car accident. So the United States has traumatized Black America for over 1,000 years, I'm gonna say, because you think 400 years of slavery, and you got all this time. So it's over 1,000 years. So when you look at it, they systematically used first to break the slave, Willie Lynch out of the Caribbeans, sent them a letter. He never came to the Americans. He sent them a letter.
That's the crazy part.
He
heard about him. He sent them a letter.
He sent them a letter to tell
300 years of mindset.
How'd you break them down
Yep.
systematically using the one thing that I always question, the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people might frown upon this, but how do you use something that the oppressors use to oppress you?
So I can answer that. Because you have to. Now this is just my understanding. When you look at slavery, it was illegal for us to learn how to read.
Mm-hmm.
And then we had some white people that taught blacks how to read, and then they taught a few more blacks how to read.
It's a light skin one.
Yeah. So
that's how they broke us too.
yeah.
They separated us through that.
So when you look at, and people say that the white man used the Bible to control us, it was because we couldn't read what was in there. That's why they didn't want us to read, because once you start reading the Bible, it clearly tells you that you shouldn't be a slave. It in the scripture, I'm not aware, but it says that he that the Son set free is free indeed, which means, why am I being a slave? Now, also, the little bit I know, the black people knew that what the white people were saying wasn't true. They just couldn't read it. They knew it. They had a sense of spirituality and self to understand that I can't read that book, but I know that's not what that book says. So to answer your question, moving forward, where we can read, is up to black people, or anybody for that matter, to pick up the Bible and read it, to be able to say, oh, that stuff they was talking about back then ain't real. It ain't real. It's not what it says. So once you read it and realize that ain't what they said, you should be able to move forward and get something out of the Bible. At least that's my interpretation. Somebody else may have another one.
Even though it was the same Bible that was written by the same people.
Because think about it. Every book
never saw or talked to.
True, but if you think about it, every book that we've ever read was written by a man, but yet we believe it.
Do we?
We read a dictionary, we call a cat because a man told us it was a cat. If you read the dictionary, it said cat is the four-legged thing that run around. We don't never question that.
No.
So the reason, in my opinion, is the reason why the Bible has been positioned in a place to be questioned is because, again, when you start reading the Bible,
how many versions of the Quran is it?
I don't know.
How many versions of King James is it?
One. There's one version of King James. You mean how many different variations of the Bible is? About 50 million. And that's because, and again, only reason I know some of this stuff because I've asked the same questions. Mm-hmm. If you read the King James Bible, it's this, thous, those, and it's that Elizabethan language.
Hebrew.
There you go. So what they have done over the years, and some Bibles have done a better variation of it in translating the this and the thous into, yo, homeboy, stop doing this. Some variations, in my opinion, kind of change the wording.
They had to.
So, exactly.
Because
so
some of the words didn't exist.
Exactly. So when I read the King James Bible, and probably because all the churches I went to, I can understand that. And my name James. I can understand it to a degree. Now I have another Bible, which is a man's Bible. Sometimes I have to read both, but that's why the Bible has been made to be questioned, because if you read the Bible, and this is just from my take on life, I've gotten every answer I've ever needed from the Bible that the white man used to control us. And it wasn't because the white man said it, it's because I read the Bible, and some of it I didn't understand, so I went to my mother or different family members, but I got all my answers from the Bible. And that's why they don't want you to read the Bible, because they would start teaching you that we are, it puts you, when you read the Bible, you see where men were being men in the Bible. Mm-hmm. And you also see, which is the system you're talking about, how the system went out to destroy those men. If you look at Samson, mm-hmm. he was destroyed because of his power. He was destroyed by a woman who cut his hair, because he didn't understand that his position where he needed to be stood. So that's why they don't want you to read the Bible, because you start getting an image of one, like we both said, the family structure: man, woman. I take it back: God, man, woman, churn, as my old grandmothers used to say. Yeah, they would say churn. So that's why they don't want you to read the Bible, because you start seeing, and it puts everybody in their proper perspective. Right. You know, so it is part of that system that we talked about that's destroying the family, and that's what I wish people would understand, that the system is destroying the families for a reason. Right. It's all about some control. Aspect of the system.
It's about control.
Is about racism. Nobody can deny it, but it's about control. And when people get that, oh, you trying to control me? Nobody want to be controlled. That's gonna make you do better. Right. Because you ain't gonna control me and tell me what to do.
Now think about where we are now. We're in Glenburn. Mm-hmm. Now, if you took the families that live here in Glen Burnie right now and set them at the round table, mm-hmm. and ask them to quietly write down the things that they want for their family. And you took a white family, mm-hmm. a mother and father, mm-hmm. Spanish, Indian, Black,
I've said
Chinese,
this before.
Japanese, mm-hmm. and you set them all down, mm-hmm. and told them to write, don't say nothing. Mm-hmm. Everything down, then turn their pads over. Get up, switch seats, mm-hmm. and read what was written.
I would say 95% of it's going to be the same. Some of it's going to change because of culture. Mm-hmm.
So, in saying that, society has separated us through religion, mm-hmm. social, economics, and color. Mm-hmm. So, like I said in the beginning, they started that the minute they took the women out the house,
which was back. What was that? Where women was in
World War II.
There you go. Yes.
It was World War II when mm-hmm. women had to go into the mm-hmm. warehouses,
Yes.
make bullets,
Yep.
guns, and all the products for the men because they went off to war.
You. It's like they changed the narrative for women's mindset.
Right. So
I don't need a man, so to speak.
So once once women got a sense of independence,
Mm-hmm.
they didn't want to give it back.
Mm-hmm.
But the men in those times were masculine.
Yeah.
And when they came home,
it was a struggle.
You do as I say, not as I do, type of mentality. So they were masculine men. A lot of women fell back. A lot of women pushed forward. Now, back in those days, you didn't dare divorce them.
Nah, heck no. It was a social taboo.
Especially when you had children.
Yes.
Who would want a woman with children? Back in them days, the women stayed. Women forcibly stayed back, the ones that didn't want to. So when they got that mindset, like, okay, damn, when the women was working, we see more tax revenue. Hey, what was the white woman name that started the
feminine movement? Yeah, the feminine movement.
Whispered in her ear. Of course I would. The next thing you know, they was marching across the country. Next thing you know, women were divorcing their husbands. Husbands was becoming weekend to other weekend dads. And the society broke down. And what was funny, it started to break down the white family home first.
Yes. Yep. Yeah.
But because then when they start seeing the black family sticking together and still maintaining that children still doing well in school, let's start integration. Black folks fell for hook, line, and sinker.
My barber said
did not remember
we were successful
what they did to Black Wall Street. How fast we forget and forgive. They didn't burn it down. People kept saying they burned Black Wall Street. They blew it up. Yeah. They blew it up. Yeah. And that wasn't, they hit both of them. They hit the one in Florida and they hit the one up
Matter of fact, if I'm not mistaken, the Gap band or the Gap were the four corners the initials of the four corners that Black Wall Street fell on. I believe that's what I heard before. But you're right, the system destroyed it because they were actually destroying the homes and the families of those people.
So as time went on and our houses got separated because those men and women had to go into the workforce and take that skill and make other people money because now they lost everything. And there wasn't no insurance that could come in and bail them out. So they went into the workforce. They had to work jobs that they didn't want. They had to start over because they didn't have their homes. So as our society and this government broke our family structure, we allowed it. That's the thing. People don't understand. We allowed our family structure to break down. So it would have broken, it would have cracked if the husband had to go out there and get a second job.
Exactly.
But it wouldn't have broke.
It wouldn't have broke, yes.
The children would have understood, in order for us to stay together, daddy got to go out there and work a second job, and he might not be around a lot. But when you are around, you just be a father to your children and a husband to your wife. And the family structure that them cracks would have slowly but surely started to fill in.
Yes, smooth up.
Would have filled in because as your children got older, guess what?
They're going to duplicate and get better.
And the less you have to work.
Yeah.
So it might have took you until you was 50, 55 to have to start to slow down and have to work because your oldest children get older. But they would have understood this is why daddy out the house.
If you look at the Jewish culture, and I don't know too much about Jewish culture, they teach economics. They teach family structure. They teach all of that to their children. I'm gonna say the Bible, but but if you think about it,
if we were the first people on earth, our ancestors.
Well, I said the Bible, but I see where you're going. They got it from black people,
right? Agriculture
mimics what we did.
If this was Africa, the milk and honey of the world, and everybody had to come here,
they picked up some of our stuff.
So I just found out that Japan was also inherited by black people first.
Mm-hmm.
So every culture that exists on
was started by some black people.
Started from Africa.
And see, I think
so
too.
All the traditions, and if you look at everybody's family structure,
mm-hmm.
and even our co-workers,
mm-hmm.
their family structure is still the same.
Yeah.
Even though they went through all that trauma in their own country,
mm-hmm.
their family structure never broke.
They never broke.
So why is it that when black folks here in America come from the same root,
mm-hmm.
allow their family structure to be broken, but you in your own country,
and they in two different countries and taking care of a home. And one of
I
our
ain't
co-workers.
talking about that. I'm talking about you have an invasion.
True.
Come in and took your land from you.
Mm-hmm.
But you never allowed your family structure to be broken.
Well, true, because like I said, we got a co-worker. I was talking to him the other day when we had a new intake. He said his son is home. Both his sons are home. I think they come in some other time for something.
Mm-hmm.
Both of them are still, one is a college graduate, mm-hmm. one just started medical school.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, I love my sons to death. But they're home, like you said, their family structure, him and his wife are here. Their sons are back 12 billion miles away, and they still respect that family structure.
Mm-hmm.
Even though daddy in a whole nother country, I'm going to still do what my father told me to do. Because if you pick up the phone and somebody say I'm not, I'm sure it's going to be a problem.
Yeah.
So you're right. I think that is how we fix stuff. Men have to stop allowing or stop taking the back seat because it's easy and do the hard work to make sure, which is something I talked about in one of the other episodes. If men were to step up and do a little more, it'll make everything that much easier. Now, we know that there's some problems that is going to happen, but when men step up and make sure that what their family needs is in place, then a lot of what's going on now, like I seen somebody posting on Facebook, all these rappers that had fingernails and all this and stuff. Mm-hmm. If men stepped up and did what they supposed to do in the house, then another man could look at them like, oh, that's them. I'm not doing that. There was a rapper named Pastor Troy. First, I found out that he really wasn't a pastor. Because I didn't know who he was. So when I found out who Pastor Troy was, he's a rapper. But he got into a lot of trouble because he was talking about homosexuals. Mm-hmm. It was a comment he made. Mm-hmm. Now, when I listened to the article, it was a little rough. But they pinpointed on one aspect of his comment. First of all, the man said, I don't have a problem with homosexual people. I'm going to leave out the rough stuff he said because it was a little rough. He said, most of my fans, gay, I take pictures with gay people. They're my fans. I love them to death. He said, but in my home, I am not teaching my son that it's okay to date another man. Mm-hmm. And they was like, why? He was like, because I wasn't there. He didn't follow up and say, if my son grow up, like we both said, if my son grow up and become a man and say, Dad, I love a man, I'm going to still love my son. But he's going to see in my home what a man's supposed to be and what a man's supposed to do. And they ripped him a new one for that. And it's like, what's wrong with that? He's teaching us a man how to be responsible. Not just what a man look like. Those are qualities that anybody, any walk of life need to have.
Even if gay or straight, you still need to know how to be a man.
You still need to be responsible.
At the end of the day, you're still a man.
Mm-hmm.
So you still have to understand responsibility, understand as a man, black man, white man, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You still have to be a man.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, our coworker, at the end of the day, he is a grown man.
Yes.
He handles his business and he don't care that you don't. And I have all respect in the world for the man.
Yeah.
Because he don't push his lifestyle on
not
to
at all.
anybody else.
Not at all. He get in there and bang out his work,
right,
and go home.
And if you didn't know it, you wouldn't know.
I was going to say that. Even with his lifestyle, he still displays manly qualities.
All day.
All day. Because I did not know. And again, I don't pay attention to things, but I think I heard him talking to somebody, and I was like, oh. But again, he displays manly characteristics.
Because you don't have to be out there in a way where you are flamboyant. I mean, if that's what you choose to do, that's fine. But being a man is so much more complex than what people think, because we simplify shit so much to sometimes avoid confrontation.
The hard conversation.
So people like, oh, men just simple. They ain't nothing complex about them. But lo and behold, it is.
Yeah.
It's just that when we dealing with mothers or sisters, we just, okay, whatever. It doesn't matter. I'm gonna take it on the chin and I'm just gonna deal with it. And we don't go into, sometimes we don't go into detail about what's
detail.
What's bothering us. We don't answer the question why. And if you do answer the question why, and it's just a simple answer, it's like, it gotta be more than this, but it's not. It's something I wanted to do. It's just what I wanted to do. I mean, there's no validity in it. It's nothing big. It's nothing major. It's nothing like I had an epiphany and I think I woke up and it felt like that. All right, I wanted to do it. I did it. But men in general come in many shapes, sizes, and colors. Many
shapes, sizes, and forms.
We all operate on the same type of movement. Family, God, family, and then us. And people think, well, you selfish, you do this for yourself. Lo and behold, people understand that men sacrifice a lot. Sometimes, especially with me when my daughters were younger, I would want something for myself, but my whole mindset would be, if I buy this for myself now,
I make sure my baby's good.
My daughters might call me and say, Dad, I need $100. Dad, I need $200. Now I didn't spend $300 on some clothes or sneakers for myself, and now I don't have nothing to take care of my children. No. So I would sacrifice. I would hold on to the money, That's, I pinned so much off the money, wasn't nothing left. Then they still would call and ask for the money, and I would give them what was left. So for me, the whole thing about masculinity it was always taught to be a provider, a protector and provider. That's all it was taught. We was never taught how to be
emotional and loving,
nurturing, transparent. We were always just taught to be one way. And I believe that's why a lot of these young men are so confused, because now you have people out here saying vulnerability, transparency for a man makes a relationship better. Not all the time.
Yeah, not all the time.
Not all the time. Sometimes being a stern, steadfast, a matter-of-fact type of man.
What we not going to do.
Is right. And this is what it is. Just like women can be matter-of-fact and it's okay. How come we as men need to be more matter-of-fact? Like, this is what I'm not going to do. And just like a woman can tell you, no, I have a headache. No means no. So when a man says no, why can't mean no? Oh, you just don't want to do nothing for me. So now the man backtracks and become more vulnerable and more easygoing. Some women criticize that. Oh, now you soft, you all this. So you confusing young men. The person that ruins young men the most, though, are their mothers. Because on one aspect, they too hard, and then on one aspect, they too soft. So the young man goes off and shoot protesters, and his mom drops him off with the gun. But then you have the too hard, and the child might have got a bad grade, and the mother beats him.
It was I want to say when they broke into Mondawmin or somewhere. I wasn't about Mondawmin, but it was the I don't think it was here. The boy mother was watching the news.
It's Mondawmin.
It was Mondawmin, and she recognized that's my son. Went straight up there and beat him.
And got locked up for it.
And got locked up for it. That's a mother who should not have been locked up.
Right.
Because you're saying to your child, that's not what we do.
It's not. Yep.
Now, if she'd have broke her arm, ripped the eyeball out, that's different.
She clearly said,
yes,
you should have
And she made him apologize, I believe.
To the police.
To the police.
Yeah.
And then you're going to stop that woman from potentially helping her child not get killed next week?
Right.
So you're right. There's a fine line between helping your child and hitting your child. But again, it seems like the system won't let men be men. Now men make it easier because they don't fight back and say, nah, I'm going to do, it is what it is. I'm going to be a man. I'm going to teach my son to be a man, teach my woman how to be a woman as much as we can. Or understand, or let me take that back. I can tell my woman, I can tell my daughters how they supposed to be treated by a man. Because now I've set the tone for my daughters to make a man meet at least my daddy's expectations. Because I've been shown this. Like I said, I know I look at my daughters, and I look at how they question a lot of their boyfriends back in the day. I was like, damn, okay. First of all, I was questioning, what's your plans? But they saw that. They questioned people I bring around them.
Right.
But I'm okay with that because they know how to make better choices. They know you're not just going to be laid up, not working.
Right.
It better be a reason why you're not working. You're in between jobs, but you're still looking. They understand their role in a man's role. So you're right. Men need to start fighting back and stop allowing the status quo to dictate how they run their life.
And some of these mothers stop blocking the relationship between the father and son. And these fathers need to stop using the excuse that they don't get along with their son's mother for the reason why they don't come and spend time with their child.
Let grandma go pick the child up.
Exactly. It's always a go-between. It's always a sister, a aunt, a grandmother, that uncle, somebody that she can drop the child off to, that the child is familiar and close with, that then you can go pick the child up. Because when I started not getting along with my oldest daughter's mother, drop her off at your mother's house, or take her to my mother's house and I pick her up, because I was not going for that back and forth. I'm not doing all that. So we have to be more involved in raising our sons as well as our daughters, because at the end of the day, our daughters only going to date what they see.
What they see.
So for me, my oldest daughter was dating this young man that's totally opposite from me. So when I pulled her up about it, she was like, well, he not like them, da da da. Come to find out, the boy played drums in the church. But he still run the streets with the dudes that I know, because they still run the streets. So now he's excommunicated. He's like John Wick. He's excommunicated. And when I tell you they excommunicated, and she was there when they excommunicated him, I had to make a phone call. I was like, look, I know you about to do what you want to do, but that stays out of it.
Yeah.
And he had to, I had to check her. You know who I know your father is, so chill.
Yeah, yeah.
And he said she got in her car and waited to finish excommunicating his ass. And when he got in the car, they drove off.
He cleaned him up a little bit.
So she still is not talking to him. But that's her choice. She's 27 years old.
If anything, she should have been like, Dad, I appreciate that. Yeah. Because I could have been got the same response that he got.
Yeah. So my thing is, my oldest daughter chose not to model her choices.
Her upbringing, so to speak.
Right. That was her choice, because she was my right hand all day, every day. But as she got older, she chose to stay more with her mother. She missed out trips and traveling and going to Punta Cana and that was her choice. And my youngest, same thing. Y'all stop hanging out with us. Call up, you coming? Don't even worry about it.
You said too many times.
Don't even worry about it. But then my youngest caught on. She knew when she came over here, it was money over here. You know what I mean? So she knew that she can go to the mall, get her nails done. I'm about to take her, get her hair done, nails done, and feet done.
it's funny
and
because
take her shopping. She'll call me like, "We're going to take your daughter shopping." Why you calling me then? You got more money than I got.
I heard Jamal Bryant say one day. He said he got 3 daughters. He gave all his children $100. Took them to, I think it was 5 or 16. His daughters, first 2 daughters, ran through the store. He said his younger daughter stayed by his side. Everybody had 100. He said his younger daughter glued to his hip. "Daddy, you like this jacket? How you think I'm looking at the jacket?" He said, "Oh, baby, get the jacket." Walked around. Baby girl understood, by my daddy, I can get what I need. He said when they get to the register, everybody had 2 outfits. Baby girl, he didn't pay for her stuff. She got 45 outfits in her $100. But he was saying that they understood, well, the one understood, by my father, I am safe and I can get what I need from my father. And I was like, wow.
Yep.
And he said the other girls, they got what they wanted, but they left their father. They made a choice to leave their father. Mm-hmm. And I was like, that's crazy.
So you think about it when you're dealing with young men and they choose to step away from the house. Mm-hmm. The father always tell them, you always got a place to live. But they walk out that front door. Mm-hmm. Okay. But they took that statement for granted. Mm-hmm. And they walk out that door and they go out there and they get themselves in trouble. And the first place they call is home. But yeah. Your homeboys is who you ran to.
Who you ran? Why ain't they?
Why you ain't calling them first?
Mm-hmm.
Why they ain't getting your bail money yet?
Yeah.
Why you think I should put my house up or dip into my 401k
to get you out of
jail? And when you went and ran to go be with them, but I was telling you, come on, let's go to this cookout over your own house. I'm gonna go hang out with my homeboys. Mm-hmm. Now you calling me at 4 o'clock in the morning. I gotta go to work. I guess call your mother.
It's funny.
By the way, you can't call your mother because her money is my money. Yep. My money is her money. Yeah. So if I don't agree to it, you still stuck.
It's funny you even make that scenario, since we had talked about the Bible a little while ago. In the Bible, there was a king, had 2 sons. Mm-hmm. One son said, "Dad, I need my inheritance today. I'm going to go ahead and go about my business." He said, "Well, okay. It ain't your time, but I'm going to give you what you need." The other son was complaining like that. He said, "Look, first of all, it's my money. If I want to give it to him, I'm going to give it to him." So he gave him the money. Son left the house and, like you said, got in trouble. I want to say he was eating grass and a whole bunch of other crazy stuff and realized, I need to go home. As soon as he got in trouble, he called home. So as he was coming up the street, the dad saw him and sent the servants to go get him. He said, "Go get my son," because he needed to come home. And when he came home, he made sure he had food. And I think he talked to him like, "Yo, what did you learn? You wasn't ready to go. Home is where you need to get all the information you need to be a man and handle what you have to make a better decision." And it, like I said, it just goes to show that iron sharpens iron. The system is able to do what it does because men, and on some aspect women, but I'm harder on men, are not doing their job in showing their sons a positive male role model, a positive role image.
Even if you're not living in the same house, I had to learn that I couldn't put job first. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, it happened after my daughter was older. It's not after the son. That I literally will, he has a tournament, karate tournament. If it's on my weekend of work, I'll take it on. Mm-hmm. I'm going to be there for him to support him, the whole 9 yards. So I think that's where I messed up with my daughters, because one is an introvert, and it's just natural, because I used to be just like it. And then one is out there. She works and everything. She got her own car, her own place, but me and her, our relationships between them is just different now. And I was there. It wasn't like I wasn't there. Mm-hmm. I mean, their mothers might not have got along, but I didn't forsake them. So I was always they was always with me, but it's like once they got older, and decided to make that choice not to call me, not to communicate with me. That was their choice, even though I might communicate out. I'm like, damn, I was with you and I watched how you got a text and you answered it right back. But when I text you,
it's 7 months.
Yeah, I'm like, so you can be that dad that's always there and still get shunned. And it's just the nature of the beast. Like, I've talked to older men who's married to the mother of their children, and the daughters did the same thing to them. So it's like, it depends on the children making a choice about either staying connected or disconnected. Because you as a parent gonna always be connected because they're your children.
To your child, yes.
But the child will take and disconnect.
Yeah.
And then try to make it seem like you disconnect from them.
But I think
they're standing in your house
eating your food,
or even still have a key to get in your house, but yet you disconnected from them, and you like, wait a minute, how did you get in my house? I used my key. So how did I disconnect from you, man? Because I didn't change the locks.
Yeah.
I didn't call you and tell you come bring my key.
I didn't tell you don't eat.
I didn't tell you couldn't come in my house. You choose to stay away. So when young men decide they make that choice, that they don't want to listen, but it also comes down to trust, just like us as grown men. When you don't have trust in another man, whether it's an uncle, anybody, most young men today do not trust other men because they've been let down so much by their biological father, maybe a stepfather, an uncle, an older brother, whatever may have you. They don't have trust. So then you have to go earn their trust, and a lot of us don't have the patience to put that type of work in, especially if a child that's not there.
Yeah.
And that's a learned behavior too. That patience is very, very much needed.
Patience is a virtue.
Right, dealing with our young men, because we don't know, especially if they're not ours. We don't know what the traumas they've been through. A lot of these young men have been touched, but they have never been
discussed it.
Never discussed it. Never had what they call it in the academy, a circle of trust.
Yeah, that circle of trust is mean.
Right. They don't have it because they're so afraid that if somebody find out that they've been touched by another man, they're gonna call them gay. So they put this hard shell on them. And the whole time they ruin their lives because they can't communicate.
They can't operate outside their shell.
So therefore, when they do step out and they become a 49-year-old man and decide to step out of that shell, it's a slippery slope to me. So what I do, I jump back into my shell because I'm safe. Yeah. So we, as men, still have to show masculinity, but we also have to give admiration. We have to give them support and love, and show them that this is what men are capable of doing besides knocking them in, shooting a gun. We can love, we can support, we can nurture, we can do all these things. So I support the coaches and the football coaches, the basketball, and all these these Pop Warner leagues,
the prime times of society,
right, that are teaching the young men more than the sport that they're playing. And I ain't talking about, I'm talking about the white coaches.
No, I thought you meant anybody who's filling that gap to show you what a man's supposed to be.
Exactly, because men are just not providers and protectors. We are everything in between. And when we as men start to understand that more and more, and understand that you can be, where's the perfect example? Uncle Phil.
Yes, Uncle Phil was a hard, thorough dude, but also hugged Will when he needed to be hugged.
He taught Will. He nurtured Will. He had empathy for Will. Even though Will got under his skin, he showed Will that you just a part of my family as my son, my biological son.
And also he showed him that just because you came from where you came from don't mean you can't move forward and be successful.
And I'm going to give you every opportunity, just like I'm going to give my children, to be successful.
Yeah.
And we as men don't get that a lot. So that's why a lot of times we struggle in the things that we're trying to accomplish because we have to do everything from scratch. We don't have an Uncle Phil. Some of us do.
Yeah,
some of us
some
don't.
of them.
Some of us do and don't take advantage of it.
That you,
and it's
you
been
don't tap, you
offered.
don't tap into what you have, yeah.
And I'm gonna tell you, I've done that because I still have trust issues when it comes to dealing with other men.
That makes sense.
Older men, because of the relationship I don't
have with your dad.
With my dad. I had a guy who's a commander at Baltimore County Sheriff Department. He asked why didn't I call him when I put my application in. That's exactly what I did.
Mum's the word.
Because I never used anybody to get anything out of I wanted. Any other man that I've ever said that I could use or that would help me out forfeited on me. So therefore, me calling you and asking you, even though you're not them, it's still an issue for you.
You're them because you're a man.
And you're a black man at that. So therefore, but then I thought about it. Like, he opened up the door for our co-worker. He opened the door for his older brother.
Hey.
And they both stepped aside.
Wow.
The older brother just decided he wanted to go jump off the porch and stay off the porch and court them 17.
Ooh.
So this one, he doing well, but he would probably be a lot better if he would have walked through that door with him.
Wow.
Me, myself, he said to call him, but it was just like,
Yeah.
So we have trust issues. And I think that's what society is pushing, that agenda to keep young black men and older black men separate. If they stay separate, then we can control the younger men. It's going to take them a lot more to convince them to trust them
to come on the other side,
complete the circle. Because if the circle stay broken, anybody can walk between it and tell them anything. Because they don't trust them already. So now you got them wearing the women jeans, the women Uggs,
the pants sagging,
the man purses.
And there's a difference between a purse, and them the man bags. That is a difference, in my opinion. It's a difference.
Okay, but we laughed at fanny packs though.
Yeah, I never did wear them things. But yeah, we did. We
laughed at fanny packs.
Yeah.
And that was nothing feminine about a fanny pack.
No, it wasn't.
It was just corny.
It was corny, yes.
That was it. But it made sense though. It made all sense in the world.
Yeah.
Hey, I keep everything to the front.
Yeah.
Hands free.
Hands free.
I ain't got
to protect myself. Yeah.
I ain't got ding in my pocket. But we laughed at that.
Yeah, we did.
But we have no problem putting on a man purse and literally calling it a man purse.
Which boggles me. Like the fact that the first part is in there, you shouldn't be wearing it.
Why not call it a man bag? But you call it a man purse. Just like they named her movie Woman King. But did they ever call the Queen of England the Woman King?
Nope.
Right. So why did the black woman that's playing Alita just couldn't be the queen?
Yeah. Well, see, and that's what I was talking about, how society is pushing the women up here but we allow it too.
That's not even the case, because a queen is a queen and a king is a king. Period. End of discussion. Women ruled kingdoms in Africa.
Yeah, they did.
For centuries. They were their own entity, their own kingdom, and they were queens. They didn't call them women kings.
Well, yeah. I mean, I got it. That's what I'm saying. How they're reversing the narrative by putting that queen, that king label on, which should have been called the queen. They're playing with it, and people are falling for it.
Could have even called her the warrior queen.
Yeah.
Because that's what she was.
Yeah, I do want to see that movie.
That's what she was. She wasn't no woman king. She was a warrior queen.
Yeah.
She ran her kingdom.
A female Shaka Zulu.
That's exactly what she was. So, society itself is always breaking down stereotypes to fit their agenda. So, for instance, we can't. You see all these comedians like Kevin Hart, Dave Chappelle, the rapper Lil Baby.
Mm-hmm.
They all got chastised for saying homosexual jokes.
Mm-hmm.
In one statement, and his fans didn't have a problem with it. But
Exactly.
the powers that be had a problem.
Mm-hmm.
So when people have a problem with that, but black folks for years have been talking about stabbing, shooting, drugging, and nobody had a problem with that.
Mm-hmm.
Black folks had a problem with it, some, but that was only to push somebody else's agenda to ban rap music.
Mm-hmm.
That's all that was.
Mm-hmm.
But then they put the labels on it, adult content.
Mm-hmm.
So they couldn't ban it because somebody else's agenda said, "Do you realize how much
money we making? Or we fit not to make
if you take this out?"
Mm-hmm.
But so the two agendas existed then when they tried to ban that stuff. So we as society has been in a trick bag for centuries, even from the time when the Rockefellers and all them brought up all the silver and gold and decided to control our interest rates. We've been in that trick bag ever since. So we become what rich and powerful, like Oprah, Tyler Perry, and Jay-Z. And I love the fact that Jay-Z is trying to push the judicial reform. But to me, it will never happen because too many wealthy people have already invested into jails. Corporations own jails now, not states, not cities. Corporations do. So we are behind the 8 ball. Some of us have peeked around it. Some of us have went through it. And when they went through it, they saw what was on the other side, and they came back and started to tell. And he started to
Kanye West
and the young boy who just got indicted for shooting.
I heard. I can't. I know what you're talking about.
What's her name? Megan Thee Stallion. Pinky
God, Christmas. Tory Lanez.
But he didn't go to court until after he started talking about the EFTs. And
that's another thing I wish people start understanding. You got like Bill Cosby, who was one phone call away from buying his own network, and you telling me 75 women from 1920 popped up and said he drugged me?
Right, which everybody back then was doing opioids in the first place. So society has shown when you step out of line as a black man in America, you don't know your lane, we're going to discredit you and destroy you. First, we're going to take your money. We're going to cut off your source of revenue. So
then we're going to tarnish your image.
Perfect example was Murder Inc. The owners of Murder Inc. They were friends with the big time drug dealers up in New York. That's all it was, friends.
Yeah.
No drug money ever was used to start Murder Inc. So Irv Gotti and them went on trial for racketeering and shit like that. Wasn't even about them. It was about the drug dealers that they owned. They cut off the source of revenue for Irv Gotti, so he couldn't fund his legal team. Because for a man who don't have no money, ain't selling drugs, you can't have no money to So right after that, once Irv had won his case, and once they found out his money was depleted, they dropped the charge and they won their case and they left. And that's when they went and got the drug dealer out there. Now he's still in federal prison, but Irv Gotti had to start all over. But they wanted him, but they knew
to go through.
But if they knew if they went at him with Irv Gotti making all his hits and all his money, that he was going to beat the charges. So society has always, the powers that be, I should say, have always had plans in place, templates of how to break down the common man. This country is always and always will be run by
1%
ancestors of immigrants. People don't understand that. all the people that's in Congress, their ancestors,
Mm-hmm.
they're generational immigrants.
Mm-hmm.
All you gotta do is look at the last names that's in Congress. I'm talking about the Caucasians.
Mm-hmm.
They sprinkle a few of us in there.
Mm-hmm.
It's a few Spanish, a few Chinese, and a little Japanese.
Mm-hmm.
They sprinkle us in there. They might even put some mixed ones in there.
They do it
But
for the
you
look.
look at McConnell.
Mm-hmm.
You notice he had no problem sending 13 million. Was it 13 billion or 13 million? Then another 18 million to Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
They all signed off on and agreed to it. But he had an issue with Americans getting $1,400.
Mm-hmm.
He had an issue anytime they having an issue with us getting our student loans paid up.
Mm-hmm.
But you ain't no problem sending money, foreign aid to a foreign country. Why is that? Because they are ancestors. They are children of
They're
immigrants.
rooted in some of Wales. Mm-hmm.
We'll never be. In my lifetime, I don't see us ever getting to the top of the mountain.
No.
Some of us might hang around that lower tier.
I think they'll allow one or two to get to the top because you gotta say no. You got one up here to look at.
So one was Obama.
Mm-hmm.
2 is Oprah.
Mm-hmm.
3 is Tyler Perry.
And Jay-Z.
You got Jay-Z.
Mm-hmm.
Kanye was there.
And then they broke him down.
You know why?
They can't really, because you can't really do too much with somebody who
Kanye
understands.
really has money.
Yeah.
And what they did was, and they didn't think it all the way through.
I think it backfired on him somewhat.
When you released him from all his contracts.
Yep. He's not obligated to nobody.
He's not obligated. So now his brand is his
It's
brand.
his brand, exactly.
So now Yeezy is actually his brand.
And I heard somewhere that there's a bank that was offering him like 95% of whatever you make. I'm like, dang. But no, this
our culture should be number one.
Mm-hmm.
But we fell for the okie doke. We decided
in the tailpipe.
Right. We decided that, which it was supposed to be that way, all men are created equal, under the eyes of the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what it was supposed to be. All men, no fair trade is no thievery.
Mm-hmm.
So when they was, hey, you need silk, I need corn.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you need corn,
The
I
barter
need
system.
cotton. Everybody was,
Mm-hmm.
and it took one man to decide from Germany that decided that why are we trading with these infidels?
Mm-hmm.
And it destroyed everything, and those plans started to roll, and people want to call it that secret society.
Okay,
stuff.
you're talking about the
So
the Illuminati.
The Illuminati, but these things, this demasculation of young men thrives from
It's played out from thousands of years ago.
Right, cutting the population of people down. Everybody want to think Roe v. versus Wade was about taking away women's abortion rights. It had nothing to do with that. It had everything to do with the Caucasian race being eliminated.
Mm-hmm.
Because we have so many people now following their heart instead of their minds. And they're marrying outside of their, what they think is the other race. And now we having these mulatto babies.
Mm-hmm.
Now the actual Anglo-Saxon
it's being depleted,
depleted, but not knowing that you came from a black man's loins.
Mm-hmm.
So we have always and always will be all family. But since we are separated by color, our young men don't trust their own color because we have let them down.
Mm-hmm.
And when you start letting me down repeatedly,
you don't get
in
another
any
chance.
relationship, I ain't gonna trust you.
Yeah.
So that's where that part of, first of all, he grew up with his mother, his grandmother. That's where he's at.
Mm-hmm.
You don't come in and balance him out. So for me, I grew up with my mother and my grandmother. But I also had an uncle who lived in the house who liked to work out and run Drew Hill Park. the whole part.
Ooh, Jesus.
Then I would walk around the corner. My father's family was there. Even though he wasn't, he had all his brothers was there in the house. That's where I stayed. Even though I might have been with my mother majority of the time with her girlfriends, and I'm gonna tell you what they did teach me. They taught me how a woman should treat a man.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, when I came, I was the center of attention. Sat down, they fed me, they brought my plate to me, set my plate down in front of me, put my fork, my spoon, my cup, and I was 7 years old, 7, 8 years old, getting this treatment.
So they taught you the other side of the coin.
So on the other side, I had all my uncles. They worked, their wives didn't want for nothing, their kids didn't want for nothing. So I seen that side as well. But I also seen that other side. Where, yeah, they took care of home, but they was out there in the streets.
They got 12 other chicks on the other day.
But the wife over here, her house was being paid for. She had clothes, she had money. Her children were being taken care of. She didn't question him. He went out, he did what he's supposed to do. His house was straight. So I seen all that, and it's confusing. As a young black man in America, you can get very caught up in a lot of things, and it's confusing. If you don't have a strong foundation, which a lot of these young men don't. Like me and you could go out and screw up.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, the two women we got in our corner,
yes.
Even if we had to sleep in this room right here,
yeah.
Like, look, you can't live in my house, but you can sleep in that little side office over there.
I'm gonna put some food over there for you, and
until you get your shit together.
You can come here and wash up and go back out there. Yeah.
Until you get your shit together. Once you get your shit together, clean my shit up, go about your business. Now, are they gonna tell us what we supposed to do and what we shouldn't do? Why you messed up and how you messed up? We ain't gonna want to hear that first. But as the more they tell us, the more it sinks in, and the more we listen. Like, you know what? She told me this when I was 17, and I turned around and did it anyway. But we don't. A lot of us don't have that man that we can go to and go, what am I supposed to do? We don't have it. So when a young man is looking and looking, even if sometimes it's the man in his house might not be the man he can talk to. So perfect example. In Best Man Final Chapters, Morris Chestnut's son, come to find out his oldest was on the other side. Okay. We know what Morris Chestnut was in that movie.
Yeah, he was a church man.
He was a church man.
But he was a football man.
And he was a football man. And in college, he was a stud.
He was the man.
Right. So, Magic Johnson. Exactly. Simulation. Yeah. So he could not talk to his father, but he could talk to Jordan. Okay. Which was his mom's best friend.
The next best thing.
But that she was a woman though. Everybody knew except Morris. And he didn't trust his father enough to understand where he wanted to be in life and how he wanted to live his life. And when Morris found out, that's when you saw the reason why he couldn't talk to his father. Wow. He took all the stuff that he had in his closet, he went and searched his closet and found a hidden companion where he had all that wardrobe. And he took it all out. And his son walked in, like, what are you doing? He said, you get rid of this stuff. You just going through a phase right now. This boy's 17, almost 18 years old. There ain't no phase. Yeah. He had opportunity. Look who his father is. He's a rich kid. So that's what it is. It's a trust factor that young men don't have with other black men. And I believe when they do talk to other men and they from other ethnic groups, they give them a wide open. So it's like
they don't know how to pinpoint it to
making a choice. So you want to allow them to make choices, but you want them to make sensible choices. You want them to understand that life is more than just your sexuality as well, because you can go through life being whoever you want to be sexually, but you still might not be gratified spiritually.
You confused it out
and spiritually you screwed up.
Mm-hmm.
Emotionally you still screwed up, but yet you still living this life. Oh, I'm a homosexual. This is what I want to do. And you still miserable.
Mm-hmm.
So figure out who you are emotionally and spiritually before you worry about that sexual part, and then you won't find yourself wearing women's sneakers and women jeans and crop tops and piercing and lipstick and fingernail polish before you even realize who you are emotionally and spiritually. So to me, if once young men decide to, I'm gonna sit down, I'm gonna get my uncles together and sit down and have a man conversation with them. Now, what you want to understand is, are those men
responsible men,
or are they a man?
Mm-hmm.
See, men and a man is two different things. Two different things. Men gonna sit down and have that hard conversation with you. A man gonna, you might not be ready for this. They're gonna try to deflect. They're gonna deflect and not. Oh man, nobody feel like talking about this. But a man gonna say, if this is what you want to talk about, let's talk about it. Let's air this out in a sensible manner and get so you can get clarification. I can get clarification of where you're coming from and how you want to deal with this. But even us as being in the age we still need a circle of trust. Because some days we can't talk to our significant other. We feel as though we can't. So the circle of trust is very important for men's growth, and because we all can talk to our homeboys, but learning how to talk to our significant other is the issue. Because with all them, you can have a conversation because we've done it. True. We've done it. So, but then when we go home and they want to talk, it's like, I really don't have nothing to talk about. But now, lo and behold, it's the same conversation that me and you just had.
It looks different.
It's coming from a different avenue. Sometimes we take it as we've been criticized. I know I do. I know I have. Like, just you. That's why when I see her talking, that's what I see is you. But she's really saying this is the things that she needs from me. Not, you're not doing these. This is what I want from you. And what do you want from me? She wants to know what I want from her. But you know what my answer is? You can answer that.
This is a great place to pause, because we have talked about why today's society is easy for men to be de-emasculated, because the system is in place to break us down to start. We don't fight back, and we just allow it to happen. So I think, again, men need to step up, do a better job in reconnecting with their younger versions of them, their sons, their nephews, the dudes on the corner, and start building the circle of trust so they can sit down and talk about their confused emotions as to why they want to do this, and help them to understand. If you still go one way, that's fine. At least you understand why you're going away. But you may realize, no, I don't want that. I want to go over here. So, again, I want everybody to drop their comments on this, because I think somebody should be able to get something out of this and maybe share some other perspective. Because at the end of the day, a man only learns from a man. Unfortunately, the men aren't there, and they're learning from women what they think a man's supposed to be, and it's confusing. So, fellas, drop your comments, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and tell us your version of why you think men are now becoming more feminine. As always, thank you. See y'all next episode. Yo, that was all right there. Was it the